28 years later, ending explained. 28 years later is finally here, and we've seen that Britain is just as ravaged by the virus as it was a mere 28 days after it broke out. Mutations have occurred, behaviors in the infected have changed, and this tiny island, connected to the mainland only at low tide, became a small community that proved survival was possible, even if it meant a lack of progress. Even though this movie felt like it had a completely different scale and budget compared to the original, what it did so well, just like the first one, was present deeper themes. The struggle to find a new way of life, the idea of letting go of the old one, the beauty of new life, the power of love, and the acceptance of death. So, with that, let's dive into this breakdown of 28 years later. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The ending. Right at the end, we saw that Spike and his mother, Isla, managed to find Dr. Kelson, the man Spike's father deemed a lunatic. We discovered Isla's confusion stemmed from the fact that she had cancer. But in this post-apocalyptic world, stripped of technology and medicine, she couldn't receive pain relief or treatment. This led Dr. Kelson to kill her, putting her out of the pain that would soon arrive. With this, Spike realized that without his mother, there was nobody on the island worth going back for. As he said himself, he believed everyone on that island was lying to him about the world before and about what was truly out there. Earlier in the film, when Spike first touched the mainland, he asked his father how far it went, and if there was a point where he could no longer see the sea. That's exactly what we saw him doing in the closing moments. With his mother in his heart and his father's lessons in his head, he ventured inland, hoping to find a greater purpose and a better life than what the island could offer. The short scenes where children were being taught their future roles in the island society didn't appeal to Spike. He knew it wasn't a life worth living. He also knew there was an entire country out there, communities, knowledge, and opportunity, which appealed to him. Hence, he wrote to his father, saying he'd return when he was ready. While eating a fish, an infected came running toward him, which he killed. But as more infected appeared, he fled. Reaching a blockade, a blonde-haired man with an upside-down crucifix appeared and asked Spike if he and his friends could interfere. This man was Jimmy, the young boy from the beginning whose father, a priest, became infected during the original outbreak. Jimmy had survived and grown into adulthood. The upside-down crucifix suggests he lost his faith, understandably, given the world's suffering. He now appears to lead a cult. The way they killed an infected by hanging it upside down mirrored an early scene in the barn when Spike first explored the area, hinting they'd narrowly missed each other before. With Spike and Jimmy now introduced, it seems Spike will get his first taste of what mainland life is really like by joining Sir Jimmy Crystal's cult. This could be dangerous, as Jimmy seems like someone who doesn't kill just to survive. He kills for pleasure. The deeper meaning. Key themes: loss, love, and hope. This film explored powerful themes: loss, love, hope, and the idea of moving on in a world that constantly tries to keep you stuck in the past. With 28 years since the outbreak of the rage virus, the infected had mutated. They weren't just beings of blind rage anymore. They showed signs of community, hierarchy, even behavior that resembled higher brain function. They bathed, multiplied, and mourned their dead, like when the Alpha found the deceased woman on the train. The infected now mirrored primal human behavior. At the same time, humans exhibited traits like rage and violence. This blurred the line between infected and non-infected, showing that they weren't as different as they once were. When Spike didn't want his father to kill a young infected child in the woods, it showed that empathy still existed, even for the infected. Spike and Isla, a story of love and letting go. Loss and love were also front and center, particularly in the relationship between Spike and his mother. Spike risked everything to find out what was wrong with her, eventually learning, through Dr. Kelson, that she had terminal cancer. Dr. Kelson was an intriguing character. Seen as a madman due to the mass graves on his land, it turned out he simply believed in remembering the dead, something powerful in a world consumed by death. He explained to Spike the idea of memento mori, Latin for remember you must die. emphasizing how we all share the same fate. So it's what we do with our time that matters. He also contrasted this with memento amoris, remember the beloved, or remember to love, when speaking of Ajur, reminding Spike that love is what separates humanity from the infected. Stuck in the past versus moving forward. A major theme was the idea that people were still mourning the world they'd lost nearly 30 years ago. There was no real progress. People remained frozen in time, reminiscing instead of innovating. But Spike represented a new generation. He never knew the world before. He didn't know what the internet was or what a delivery driver did. This lack of nostalgia gave him the freedom to imagine something better. Scenes intercut with medieval battles reinforced the idea that Britain had regressed, while the rest of the world moved on. But knowledge still existed. Dr. Kelson, for example, used iodine to repel and sedate infected. There were resources, people just needed to come together to share them. Ajur represented the mindset of the island, confused, lost, stuck in the past. Her death was symbolic of that mental state being destroyed, allowing Spike to finally move forward and explore a new world. 28 years later, review. Was 28 years later worth the wait and the hours spent watching trailers before other movies? Yes, it was a great addition to the first two films. Even though Boyle and Garland glossed over plot points like the boy with the cure from 28 weeks later and how mainland Europe eradicated the virus, I can look past it, especially if we're getting two more movies like this one. One thing I loved was how the film, despite being far glossier than 28 Days Later, still used the same gritty camera movements and editing style. It kept that raw edge and sense of terror when the infected were close. It stayed true to its roots. The story was well told and easy to follow. Watching Spike learn from his mother and father while navigating a terrifying world made for a compelling journey. I thought it was smart that the film emphasized how the virus had mutated. The alphas were genuinely menacing, and the little fat worm-like infected were oddly amusing. This is the best the infected have ever looked in the trilogy. When I saw Ralph Fiennes was cast, I expected a major Henry West-style hidden villain, and while he didn't turn out to be one, there was a creepy edge to his character that worked. I hope we see him again. As usual, the infected didn't dominate screen time, and it didn't feel like a typical zombie apocalypse movie. The virus was a backdrop to explore deeper ideas. There weren't many jump scares, and honestly, the previous films weren't that kind of horror either. Even though this is the first in a new trilogy and the ending sets up more, the story felt complete and satisfying. It didn't rely on a cliffhanger. Final thoughts. Go watch 28 Years Later. It's definitely worth it, especially if you love the original. It feels like the truest sequel to 28 Days Later, both in tone and depth.